going to be talking about living with a personality disorder. I happen to have borderline personality disorder, and I'm going to be talking about that, or BPD I'll refer it to, and I'm going to be talking about the main areas that I'm affected by and how that makes me struggle to live with it. No, I want to go through some examples and show you what it's like to live with a personality disorder so you can understand, and it may help other people who are living with their personality disorders to show that, you know, it is a struggle sometimes and it can be really hard work, not just for the person suffering from it, from the people around. Borderline personality disorder, there are some main areas that the illness is kind of defined. So I'm going to go through each of those and give examples as we go along to help you understand. So the main areas are unstable self-image, emotional instability, disturbed patterns of thinking and perception, impulsive or reckless behaviours, intense unstable relationships. And then I'm just going to wrap it up at the end with just sort of day-to-day living. Let's go for it, shall we? Unstable self-image. So I find it very hard to get dressed in the morning, find it very hard to leave the house, because one morning I can wake up and feel very confident in my appearance, and other days I wake up feeling very, very negative and hateful of my appearance. This can get me into rages, this can take me into crippling lows, this can take me to self-harm, especially if it's a big event or any event that involves getting dressed, getting ready, putting makeup on, doing hair and going outside. Social anxiety really kicks in for me here, and a lot of paranoia as well. I worry about people looking at me funny. I worry about me not fitting in. It is a daily battle. Sometimes I may not have it for a couple of days, but then I may have it for a couple of 3 or 4 days where I'm struggling to find something to wear. And it's not just like, oh, I can't find anything to wear, I need new clothes. It's not like that. It's literally, I start to get hot and clammy and sweaty because I start to feel I can't wear this because I'm gonna look really stupid, and then I start to get panicky and calm things down. But yeah, so I'm constantly worrying about my appearance, constantly worrying about how I'm coming across to people. Am I nice? Am I cruel? Am I horrible? Am I whatever? I'm always feeling unstable, having this unstable sense of self. So I don't feel secure in my appearance or how I come across to people. So that is one area that I am affected by, and I will go from hating myself to loving myself, sometimes within a few hours, even maybe in a few minutes. Very frustrating, very hard. Second area, emotional instability. This is the biggest area, one of the biggest areas. So I have extreme emotions, intense emotions, emotions I'm unable to regulate, much like a child, sort of toddler or a teenager. I'm somewhere in between those two sometimes, and I can go from crippling lows where I am, just almost like a zombie, not quite a zombie because that's more when I'm numb, but crippling lows, so I could be, just not being able to get out of bed. And then I could go from having outrageous, really inappropriate, intense anger as well. And then sometimes a lot of guilt. Anxiety brings the guilt. And if you have BPD, you're likely to suffer with anxiety, likely to suffer with depression as well. So all of these lovely emotions come in, and they can be extreme, off the scale, really, really anger. And I can feel myself getting all elevated. And even going into manic or hyper, when I feel like my heart is racing, and I get hot and animated. So it's a daily battle with emotions. They're either intense or they're completely uncontrollable, and I will have a tantrum, or I will freak out. I felt really bad the other day. I had a friend over doing some work for my mum, and he heard me have like my full-blown episodes, and I'm totally and utterly humiliated by that. An episode is for BPD is when your emotional levels get too intense and you're stuck at that emotional level. So I now have to measure my emotions from 1 to 5. If I'm at a level 1 or 2, we are having a good day. If I'm level 3 or 4, not so good. And if we're at level 5, then that really isn't me, and I can be level 5 anger, guilt, hate, sadness. I mean, sometimes you can feel level 5 happiness, and that can be really great as long as it's safe. But I do feel good emotions at very good levels as well. I can cry at the smallest things, and I can say really awful things to people when I'm feeling emotionally unstable. I struggle to communicate with how I'm feeling, even though that's what I desperately need to do, and I'm really trying that. And my 31 days of BPD, please check it out if you haven't. I talk about that sort of communication. Sorry, I forgot what I was saying. That's another thing that I do, and I don't know if I've actually put it on here, but starting when I've done a lot of videos like this, I start talking about something, forget what I'm saying halfway through, my brain goes off somewhere else, so I end up looking like an idiot or having to re-record like I have done today. So a lot of people think I'm too sensitive. I am too sensitive. I can be very sensitive to other people's opinions and point of views. And the chronic feeling of emptiness, that's one of the signs and symptoms. This emptiness makes me then want to reach for reckless behaviours. I'll talk about those. Or it makes me want to self-harm, maybe even make me want to go to suicide, and then have to go into the care of the crisis team and things like that. But I'll talk about that at a later date. So emotional instability is another one. The third area, disturbed patterns of thinking and perception. So paranoia, thinking people are looking at me, people talking about me behind my back. If someone says, oh, so-and-so said that about you the other day, I will literally probably put that person on a nice naughty list. Actually, that's something I will talk about in a minute, but sorry about the putting people, idealising that people and devaluing people. That's another part of the illness. So if someone upsets me, I will put them on the naughty list. If they're then nice, I'll switch them to the nice list. And I've had this in my business workplaces before, and even with families and friends, I've put people on nice list and naughty list depending on whether they've been nice or not so much to me. I find that, so that's my disturbed pattern of thinking. I can be quite mistrustful of others, distrustful, thinking people hate me when they probably don't. In fact, they're more likely they don't. But disturbed patterns of thinking are definitely this more goes towards the paranoia. I have a lot of paranoid ideas about that people don't like me, or are talking about behind my back, or are going to hurt me, or are going to lie to me, or shout at me, or belittle me in some way. So it's a lot of paranoia. I view a lot of things through filters. I've done a video on that, please check that out. Filters are kind of like, rose tinted goggles, we use that expression of seeing the world differently. Well, I view things through kind of like that I'm a failure, that I'm never going to be good enough, that I'll never amount to anything, that I'm not worth loving, so I'll have all of these disturbed patterns of thinking and perception. So much so that it will stop me going out, because what will happen when I go out is I'll come home and say I've been out for a few hours. That 3 hours will then be dissected. What did I say? Did I say the right thing? Did so-and-so like me? Did they like me? What did they think about that? Why when I said that did they laugh? Why when I said that did they not? And I'll do this for hours and hours, and I'll just go into daydream. I'll just kind of switch off and just start daydreaming about what's happened and reliving it. And if it's horrible, you might see me doing that. Or, oh no, what did I say? Oh God, cringe. Horrible. But yeah, so that's another area, having those disturbed patterns of thinking. A lot of the ways what I try and do now is to try and challenge those thoughts. So I thought I had something on my nose. Try and challenge those thoughts, but it's not always possible. Yeah, so not trusting people is and feeling jealous of people. People jealous when I lost my job, when I had to move in with my mum. I've told this before, but seeing everyone around me doing so well, getting married, getting promoted, having children, buying houses, buying car, going on holiday, all of these things that I just couldn't do, and it just wasn't fair. And my disturbed patterns of thinking, made me hate people. Maybe I'm not going to see them because look at them, and that's not right, because and that's why I've lost friends, because of my trust issues and thinking that they're better than me, kind of thing. Number 4, reckless impulsive behaviours. I try not to I don't do these as much now, but I used to be, especially in my teens and in my early 20s and 20s, I was very much into reckless and dangerous behaviours, impulsive behaviours as well, sorry. So I'd, self-harm, I've had suicidal tendencies. I've also used to go towards drugs and alcohol to, cheer me up if I was feeling down, or just to get through the pain, emotional pain and physical pain. Reckless driving and all of those kind of things. But the main areas that I would say that I would used to put myself in danger was through sex. Unfortunately, I've been in abusive relationships, but I've also had a few dodgy things happen in my life. Getting carried away with things, meeting people, and then ending up in a graveyard in Farringdon, being raped, then waking up after being on a date with someone when a man's having sex with me, and me not remembering how we got home or anything like that. So over a hypno drug or whatever it was, I'm not sure. But putting myself in danger. When at uni, I used to get the night bus home and walk back from North London, from Wood Green to Tottenham when I was at uni, which was about 20 minutes in the pitch black on my own. And when I lived in another place when I was at uni, I just used to get the night bus back and just walk all the way across through central London sometimes. Not central London, through Stoke Newington, where I used to live, and used to walk through there. I'm not saying it's dangerous, but a young girl on her own, I really just put myself in silly places. So yeah, and when I ended my disastrous relationship with Ricky, I was really put myself about, and really got myself into dangerous situations, and unfortunately it meant that, like I say, date, rape, drug, and other sort of things. So that's the reckless side of it. But yeah, promiscuity was my main area, and then it went into sort of drugs and alcohol. And at the moment, it's sort of more self-harm than anything. But I'm not condoning any of that behaviour. If you are doing any of those things, please try to challenge your thoughts, challenge your ideas as to why you're doing them. And we're going to do more stuff on that later on. But just take care of yourself if you're battling with your BPD. Just try and be safe, okay? 5, intense unstable relationship. Well, like I said, I've lost friends because of either my behaviour. I can be really intense to start with, like we've just made friends. Oh, I've got a new friend. Oh, they're lovely. Oh, I'm obsessed. And then I can't keep up that obsession. And then they think that I'm not as into them, and I still am, but then I think they're not. And I've lost friends, and really awful things like that. But also intense unstable relationships. I've went out with many abusive partners, many controlling, not many, I went out with 2, mainly psychologically abusive, but also controlling relationships, ones where, they weren't necessarily mean, but they would control a lot of my behaviour, or try and control my behaviour. But I would put up with it, because it's that kind of, that chronic feeling of emptiness, needing to beat yourself up, needing to make yourself feel like you're a piece of shit, excuse my language. But that is what it is not giving enough love for yourself, not caring enough about yourself, that you'll constantly put yourself in harm, or feel that you deserve to be in those relationships. I've let people down, I've cancelled on people, and even the relationships that I do have now, they do still have some sort of they can have a sense of instability, especially when I'm trying to build a friendship with someone, but maybe I'm not actually doing it in the right way, maybe I'm being too intense. It's a real challenge for me, and I hope that the relationships I've got now will stay. But like I say, for any friends that I've lost through this illness, I love you and I miss you. Finding it hard, yeah, so like I say, even the relationships I've got now, like even the relationship with my mum, I struggle with that, because my BPD, my anger gets riled up quite quickly, and I can push her away, and I've pushed Andy away, I've pushed a lot of people away, because I'm sort of think, if I push you away, then you can't hurt me. I can push you away and stop you from hurting me. Losing friends and manipulation. I've manipulated people in the past in many ways, and yeah, it's real struggle. I'm just going to end now with day-to-day living with it, because I'm really coming to an end. I didn't want this video to go on as long. Not being able to hold down a job really depresses me. I used to earn quite good money working in marketing and things like that. I'd love to be able to go back into full-time work, but there is absolutely no way I can. I'm still self-harming, and I'm still not in control of my emotions. I'm still not managing them correctly, you know, and I can give you all this wonderful advice, but day-to-day living can be really hard. People questioning me, I think someone said to me the other day, like, oh, so-and-so asked why you don't work, and I was like, well, do you know what, I'd love to have a chat with them, because I tell them why I can't work. In fact, watch this video and I'll tell you why I can't work. And I'm having to defend my illness from, you know, going for assessments, things, and even from my own family, saying, you know, look, I may look well to you today, but it doesn't mean I'm well all the time. I may look safe and happy today, but I'm not always, okay? And so people saying, just go for a walk, you know, sort your life out, get a job. It's really not that easy. If it was, do you know what, I don't want to be unemployed. I don't want to be earning no money, not contributing to mine and my partner's. You know, he works full time, I don't. Makes me feel rubbish. It really, really does make me feel so awful that I can't work when I used to be able to work and, you know, earn money. It's frustrating. I'm losing my career. You know, like I say, I got quite high in marketing, but I ended up getting sacked from my last job because I couldn't concentrate. Literally, my concentration levels were so poor that I would forget what I'm doing halfway through. It means now my day-to-day is taking meds. It's taking meds to manage my illness. It's doing yoga to manage my moods. It's managing my physical pain, managing my fibromyalgia. I would say, for me, it's something that's happened in the last few years, but it has got more and more severe. If I have an emotional outburst, or if I have a very full-on day of emotions or battling with my brain, I can have physical pain all over my body, and I have to battle with that as well. Just taking care of myself, it can be a struggle, because a lot of the days I'm battling with this BPD person that's going, you are rubbish, you don't need to get washed and dressed, go and stay in the bed where people don't have to talk to you or look at your ugly face. That's where I go to sometimes, and that is really, really hard. So making sure I take my meds and making sure that I go to sleep at the same time, try and wake up at the same time, trying to get a good routine. But I do battle with people thinking I'm well when actually I'm ill. And, oh, another thing, being really sensitive to light and sounds and smells. You know, I can be very sensitive to loud noises, a bit jumpy, hypervigilant, that kind of thing. But some people would say I'm high functioning, other people would say not. I think if you spent more than, you know, a few hours with me or a couple of days with me, you would see the other side of the illness. But I also am very, very good at hiding it, because I am a perfectionist and I don't want anyone to see me, as in my head I would say, weak, which is not. But for me, living with borderline personality, let's sum it up, shall we? For me, living with borderline personality disorder has its ups and downs. My main frustration is that I have to defend being sick to the government and to everyone I know, really, because I think everyone around, I feel my disturbed patterns of thinking and perception, I think that everyone out there is going, well, she should have a job, she should have a job, she should have a job. You know, my mum, my dad, my boyfriend, everyone. I think everyone is going, Gemma, get a job, Gemma, get a job, Gemma, get a job. And it scares me, because I can't maintain it. I would be phoning in sick from as soon as I start going in there. But yeah, so living with BPD is hard, but it has good times and it has bad times. But overall, you are affected in many ways. I will just go through those things again. So I have an unstable self-image, I have emotional instability, I have disturbed patterns of thinking and perception, I am impulsive and I perform reckless behaviours, and I have intense unstable relationships. Day-to-day living with a personality disorder. I hope that's been of use to you. Please let me know what you think. Comments, questions, anything you like in the space below. What's it like living with your PD? What PD do you have? Have you learned anything from this that maybe is brand new information? Whatever your thoughts, please put them in the space below. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.